Imagine the horizon, a perfect blue line that never ends. Now imagine staring at that line for 438 days. No phone, no GPS, no engine. Just you, a 7-meter fiberglass boat, and the deepest, most unforgiving wilderness on Earth, the Pacific Ocean. Most people lose their minds after 3 days of isolation. After a week, the body begins to shut down. But Salvador Alvarenga, he didn't just survive, he drifted 9,000 kilometers from the coast of Mexico to a tiny atoll in the Marshall Islands. How does a man stay sane when his only companion is the ghost of a friend? How do you hydrate when the sky won't rain and the only liquid available is lethal? You're wondering how he did it. How did he stay alive without a single drop of fresh water for weeks at a time? The answer is as brilliant as it is stomach-turning. Salvador turned his boat into a laboratory of death. He learned to catch sea turtles, not for their meat, but for their blood. He drank it warm, straight from the source, to keep his kidneys from failing. He became a predator of the deep, eating raw birds and triggerfish, scavenging like a shark just to see the sunrise one more time. But as we are about to find out, physical survival was the easy part. The real battle was happening inside his head. Our story begins on November 17th, 1891. No, wait, let's move to modern times. November 17th, 2012. Costa Azul, Mexico. Salvador Alvarenga was a legend among local fishermen. They called him La Chancha, the pig, because of his strength and his thick build. He was a man of the sea, a veteran who feared nothing. That morning, the sky was a bruised purple. A storm was coming, a norte, a vicious wind that turns the Pacific into a washing machine. Most stayed on shore, but Salvador needed the money. So he recruited a young 22-year-old soccer player named Cordoba to help him. They were looking for tuna and sharks. They had a radio, a GPS, and a motor. They felt invincible. But 75 miles out, the ocean decided to remind them who was boss. The engines sputtered. A single metallic clank echoed across the waves. Then, silence. The radio crackled one last time. Salvador screamed to his boss, "If you come for me, come now." The reply was lost in static. The GPS died. The electronics fried. And then, the wind began to push them, not back to Mexico, but west, into the vast, empty blue. The first 2 weeks were a blur of terror. They had no food. They huddled under a discarded icebox to escape the blistering sun that felt like a laser on their skin. Hunger is a physical pain, but thirst is a hallucination. Salvador began to adapt. He became a hunter. He would lie on the deck, perfectly still, waiting for a seabird to land on the edge of the boat. With a lightning-fast strike, he would grab its legs, snap its neck, and eat it raw. But Cordoba, young, inexperienced, his body couldn't handle it. He became sick from the raw bird meat. He stopped eating. He sank into a deep, dark depression. One night, Cordoba looked at Salvador and said, "I'm tired." He died shortly after. For 4 days, Salvador kept the body on the boat. He spoke to it. He asked Cordoba how the weather was. He treated the corpse like a living friend, because the alternative, being truly alone, was a fate worse than death. Eventually, reality broke through the madness. Salvador realized he was talking to a ghost. In a moment of clarity and heartbreak, he slid his friend's body into the water. Now, it was just Salvador. One man, one boat, and 8,000 miles
of nothingness. Month 5, month 8, a year. Time loses meaning in the middle of the Pacific. Salvador's hair grew into a matted mane. His skin became leather, crusted with salt and sores. He watched cargo ships pass in the distance, huge steel monsters that didn't see the tiny speck of a boat below them. He waved, he screamed, he signaled with a mirror. They kept moving. They never saw him. He survived on a diet of sea trash, plastic bottles floating in the water used to collect rain. And when there was no rain, he survived on the fluid found in the eyes of fish. But how do you keep from going insane? Salvador created a world inside his mind. He would walk around his village in his head. Every street, every smell, every face. He lived 1,000 lives in his imagination, while his body withered in the sun. He was a man forgotten by the world, but he refused to forget himself. January 30, 2014. On a tiny, remote atoll called Ibon in the Marshall Islands, 2 locals saw something strange on the beach. A battered, yellow boat covered in shells and bird droppings, and out of it crawled a man. He was bearded, swollen,
Naked, except for a tattered pair of underwear. He didn't speak their language. He looked like a creature from another century. Salvador Alvarenga had done the impossible. He had crossed the largest ocean on the planet by accident. When doctors examined him, they were baffled. His muscles were wasted. His liver was damaged. But he was alive. He had survived 438 days, where no human should have lasted 40. His story reminds us that the word impossible is just a word for things we haven't seen yet. And in the hour of our greatest darkness, when the engine fails and the horizon is empty, the only thing that matters is the will to take one more breath. This is the legend of the man the ocean couldn't swallow. If you ever feel like you're drifting, remember Salvador, and remember, the shore is always out there. Subscribe for more tales of the impossible.